So a distinction I want to maybe create here and point out is that we could maybe look at this as physical beings that were aliens from other planets, but there's also a distinction that we could find that the term Shemayim is often used not as in a physical place, but as a spiritual place. That right when someone passes away, they go to heaven. We use it in our own contemporary language. We say someone goes to heaven, and that's also used very commonly in biblical and Talmudic language to say that things are in heaven. Right, you look up in the heavens, and God's in the heavens. It describes in the book of Devarim that Hashkifa Mim'on Kachacha. We say God looks down from above. God is not physically above us. God is a spiritual being. So there is something to be said about the description of these beings being more spiritual and then being enclosed in some kind of physical body, and then so not being aliens per se, but something of more of the spiritual realm. And we find the idea very much comes into play in the story of Samson the Great, Shimshon HaGibor. There is an angel who appears to his mother, comes down from on high, and then actually turns into a fire and consumes the animal offering that they bring, meaning that this is a spiritual being who, for a momentary purpose, enclosed or made himself visible to the human naked eye. So there's that kind of different ideas that you can take a look at and see the physical versus the spiritual, because we see nothing here necessarily that says that they came from a planet, from a star, from...
It doesn't say that. And right. It's certainly the Bible is full of angels, starting from the beginning of the Bible, where angels didn't really have names. They just kind of came, they delivered a message from God, till we get into the later parts of the Bible, into the books of Daniel, and when the angels all of a sudden became to be beings that had names and existed for longer periods of time than just the moment that they deliver the message. So, were these angels all also extraterrestrials? I mean, they were in the sense that they didn't come from the earth, but did they come from another planet? Were they just spiritual beings? Did Abraham really see three angels, or was that something that he perceived of? So, right, the Bible does not ever say the word spaceship. Well, right. Maybe not. We'll say maybe not. Maybe for now.
We don't know for sure.
Right. We'll say maybe.
And that's not. Also another point is that term that Cousin Crossman was mentioning was the word Elohim or Elohim. That term is often used also for angels. That name of God versus the name that you have, the four-letter name of Hashem that's mentioned other places in the Bible, which you'll never find used applied to any other being. But that term Elohim could also sometimes mean an angel. It could also sometimes mean a judge. We find it in the book of in the portion of Shoftim describes that by Yavo Elohim, you tell the two litigants to come before Elohim, the God, but it's not really God. They're coming before the judges. So kind of the word Elohim is the translation is like the master, the great master. So it's interesting to note to that concept, that term Elohim it's used also. If you think about it, interestingly, even in this week's Torah portion where we have the curses, the quote-unquote curses that we have, the description is that we serve the term that's used is Elohim, other gods. And the Torah does use that term, gods, to describe what we would be serving. So it's an interesting idea that the differentiation that we would have in those names. I'm just commenting, and we're just not pulling apart anything you're saying.
We're both trying to figure it all out together.
Exactly.
That's really what we're doing.
So I guess, that would just be what I want to add is that there could be a physical element to this. Are these children of God's children of the heavens that are physical beings, or are they more of a spiritual realm? I remember as a child when we grew up and we studied this portion of the Torah, they actually told us the story that the Midrash tells us. I don't remember which Midrash it is, but describes that there were angels, and that's why it uses the term Elohim. That's why we were taught as children. And there were angels that were looking from on high and watching how the humans down on the earth were completely desecrating the land. They were doing all kinds of terrible things. And they looked down and said, why are you letting these humans populate the earth? They were talking to God. And God says, do you think you could do better? They said, sure, we can. And they were clothed in physical form and brought down here. And this is where the story continues. These were the people. But that's the angle of one Midrash versus and this is a very important thing to remember. There are 70 ways to interpret the Torah. So we have to, hone in onto there's 70 ways. There's 70 correct ways. And then there's probably thousands of incorrect ways as well. So we want to try to figure out that correct 70.
Okay.